Good afternoon, Seattle. Welcome back to another episode of Le Frères Heureux. You're laughing. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing at the way you said that.
Why? What was so funny about it?
I don't know. It was like you were introducing the Green Hornet or something.
You gotta have,
Give it a bit of
get a bit of
pizzazz,
bit of oomph when you introduce your show to the hundreds of people that listen.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're on hundreds yet. We've certainly hit a pretty decent milestone.
we have. We just hit 250 total.
Total listens, views, downloads.
Well, downloads, but I guess that includes like Spotify and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I was pretty chuffed with that.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
happy
lie.
with that.
That's
if we include YouTube, it was almost 500.
yeah.
So
I did not expect so many people to tune into our silly little show.
Neither did I.
But there we go. We are back again. You are as always joined by my brother Ewan.
Yep.
And I thought we were going to do like a two Ronnies thing.
Oh, did you want me? And you're also joined by me, Ewan. Is that what you were wanting?
Sort of. You were going to introduce me.
Oh, okay.
So like
you are as always Fraser.
I am always Fraser.
The older brother.
The one who tries to do something new and no one follows along with it. Anyway, we are back with Disc 2 of Season 3. Yes?
Yep.
Yes. Just double checking there. We left you on a cliffhanger last week.
We did.
With, what's the first part of the cliffhanger
Very
called?
dramatic. Sleeping with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the Enemy is the first part. And we return with Adventures of Bad Boy and Dirty Girl, which we will get to in a minute.
Yeah.
So, this is the second big cliffhanger that we left off on.
It's the second, kind of two-parter.
Two-parter, yeah. And it's one that I noticed a few things with this disc that this is when the show kind of hits its consistency almost. There's a lot of themes relating to the episodes rather than the plot themselves, but like how the episodes are structured and some of the elements in the stories that are kind of retained for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Compared to like the first couple of seasons where it's all more or less self-contained stories, one episode at a time. Very rarely are there callbacks to previous episodes, things like that.
That's definitely true.
Whereas starting from this, I think this disc in particular, there's a lot of elements that are, kept for the remainder of the entire show. Yeah,
well, we're introducing a big plot point that's like it is an overarching plot for the next season or two, and then it leads on into all of the other recurring plots for the rest of the show.
Well, I would say even it's up until season 6, middle or end of season 6, I think that this particular plot is finally resolved.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, even then it has sort of knock-on
right until the very end of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, you know what, it's a good disc. I think so. It's got ups and downs, but it's a bit inconsistent, but the average is pretty decent.
It does have one episode that I do really like in it, which we will talk. Well, it's not the first one, but it is the second one.
Okay,
that we can talk about more at the time.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of episodes I think we'll probably agree on. There's one that surprised myself. That I didn't surprise myself. An episode that surprised me.
Yeah.
That I've never really liked, but rewatching it, I really loved it.
Enjoyed it more than you thought?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And a couple that are just as bad as I remember,
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay, cool.
So we'll get to that.
We will.
Any other housekeeping? I don't think so.
No.
Subscribe to our Twitter and Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
We do have them. We do have that little disclaimer at the end of the episode.
I don't want to be one of those preachy people. People will do it now because now you can get statistics for like YouTube views of like what percentage of people watch without subscribing.
Yeah.
So lots of people do it and be like, oh, only 10% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So go and I don't want to be one of those preachy people. But seriously, come and subscribe to us. Come on, man.
To be honest, I am quite. If you tune in at any on any of the platforms and you sit and you can put up with the two of us for a full episode, honestly, hats off to you.
Yeah, no, I do fully appreciate
we
that.
really appreciate it. And but it's more just to kind of keep up to date with things, especially like Twitter. We'll post updates if things are, running a bit late, which we had a couple incidents. It was definitely not Ewan's fault.
The past couple of weeks.
That sounded sarcastic. It definitely wasn't Ewan's fault. It was the other one. And we post updates and things and let you know.
Also some pretty solid memes.
Oh, solid memes. Yeah.
So you're missing out on that if you're not following us on Twitter.
But yeah, as always, thank you for listening to our funny little show.
Yeah.
Which we will carry on with now. Let's get stuck in.
Yep.
So
the
as
Adventures
I said,
of Bad Boy and Dirty Girl.
I thought we were going to do
You do it. You can do it.
No, you go for it.
Okay, sorry. The Adventures of Bad Boy and Dirty Girl. So, cliffhanger at the end of the last episode. Frasier and Kate, the new station manager, who's been introduced
Kate Costas
earlier on, were butting heads over pay raises to the kind of non-entertainer portion, the off-air talent.
The off-air talent.
They call so the producers, such and such, like Roz. They get into it, very heated discussion. They wind up kissing, and then the end of the episode strongly implies that they sleep together
in Kate's office.
In Kate's office,
with everyone listening,
with everyone outside,
which is
a bit weird.
Yeah.
So we continue on from that cliffhanger with that being confirmed. Frasier talks about it with Niles. Then there's all kind of, it just explores all this sexual tension between Frasier and Kate and how they're kind of trying to carry on their professional relationship. And then it all culminates with the two of them sleeping together on air.
Yeah. In the middle of the traffic announcement.
In the middle of the traffic announcement. And they refer to each other on air. Well, I suppose Frasier refers to the two of them on air as Bad Boy and Dirty Girl, which is horrible. I mean, that's really bad. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the run of the episode.
Summary of it. It's
Are you not a fan?
No, you know what? I do like it.
Yeah.
I do like the episode. I think overall it is very good. Mercedes Ruehl, who plays Kate Costas, is just great. She's just wonderful, and she's really just. I feel bad. I feel guilty for not liking these episodes in previous watches because she is very good.
She is.
And I always kind of thought of her as. I thought of her acting as quite. I don't know what the word is. Almost eccentric in her sort of mannerisms and the way she says things sometimes.
I can see that. Well, she was
maybe not quite the word.
She was on the stage before going into TV, or she was bigger on stage at this point than she was doing like TV or film work. So it would make sense that she was more
maybe just accentuated.
A little, a little bit more.
Some of her lines are quite well pronounced. But I feel guilty now thinking that, because watching them back, she is very funny.
She is great.
And the way she does it.
The way that she definitely keeps up, not even keeps up with Frasier, but like properly puts him in his place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, makes fun of him when, Frasier kind of says to her, well, he goes back and forth on whether he should talk to her about they're going too fast in their relationship. Well, it's not even a relationship. They slept together, but he's worried that that's going to affect them and whatever. And he kind of says, like, we need to cool off. But then she says it before he gets a chance to. And he says, oh, I'm so glad that you said that. I was worried you were going to think I was rejecting you. And she kind of goes, oh, that's so thoughtful. And also so full of yourself, and points out that he is being very egotistical, that he thinks that she's going to be so enamored with him that she's going to be distraught at the idea of the two of them not being together.
I know.
Kind of similar to what happened with BB at the end of season 2. He genuinely thought that they slept together once. He said, maybe we shouldn't do this again. And he thought she was prepared to throw herself off a ledge because she was so distraught at the idea.
Is it one of these episodes that he says, or is it later on that he says, once a lady has dipped their toe in Crane Lake?
Yeah.
I can't remember when that line is. But
I want to say that might have been
so full of himself.
Was that maybe when he slept with BB?
It might have been.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I feel like we might have already passed it.
Possibly. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. He's just so full of himself, and he thinks it's a kind of a running theme.
Yeah.
Not only in these episodes, but in just the whole show, that kind of the world revolves around him, and he's at the center of all of these things. Yeah. And sometimes he is. Fair enough.
Definitely.
For better or worse.
I mean, the show is called Frasier.
It is called Frasier.
We have to expect that it's going to be centered around him.
But in these sort of situations, he sort of takes it as... I wouldn't say even his feelings are more important. It's just he doesn't consider that there might be another... side to it, I suppose.
Yeah, he only sees things from his own perspective, and always assumes that is the most important view.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get that. Yeah, but I think this episode does have a lot going for it.
I think
in terms
it does as well.
Of, like
it's very good.
The comedy and the acting, something that, I mean, we say over and over and over again. Anytime Niles is not the center of the episode, he always winds up having great little bits and kind of stealing the show. But I really love his delivery of that line very early on.
I know what you're going to say.
Right at the start of the episode. You know exactly what I'm going to say, because it is hilarious. Frasier's kind of confiding in Niles about like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this attraction between me and Kate.
Yeah.
Between Kate and I suppose.
Remember, at this point, they've only kissed.
Yes.
To everyone's knowledge.
No one else is aware that they've slept together. And Niles kind of says like, "Oh no, it's fine. You just kissed. It means nothing." And Fraser's like, "Yeah, okay, right. No, you're right." She's like, "It's just it would be completely different if you had gone any further than that. But it's fine. It was just a kiss. A kiss means absolutely nothing. You had sex with her, didn't you?" And it's like he just kind of narrows his eyes, and it's just like takes the sip of his coffee and has that like judgmental glare, and it's such a fantastic delivery.
It is. It's wonderful, and I love as well that it implies how well Niles knows Frasier, and how well he can read what Frasier is saying without actually saying it. He's invited Niles to coffee. He's trying to figure out what to do. And Niles sees it's more than just a kiss.
Yeah,
I'm going to wind him up a little bit because I know what's going on here, and I love that. We also get another multiple personality joke from Niles as he's leaving the cafe. He says, "I've got my multiple personality patient. Not to worry, if I'm late, he can just talk amongst himself." It's like, the man. I'm not sure these lines would fly nowadays.
No, I don't know if they would, but
they're a little bit. Yeah.
Oh man.
But they're good. I do like the little psychiatry jokes from Niles, his little sessions.
Oh yeah, they are great.
They're all very good one-liners.
There's a YouTube channel that's just started posting things recently. I think they were kind of very active on the Frasier subreddit. As I say active, I enjoy browsing it because I'm a big nerd. But they have started posting a lot of stuff on YouTube, like compilations of little clips. And there was one they did recently that was a compilation of all of the like group sessions that Niles talks about, and all of his like, I need to leave to talk to this patient jokes. And some of them are very funny.
They are good. They are good.
I think they're called Frasier on YouTube.
Frasier.
I recommend them.
I think I've probably seen a couple if they're the compilation ones that I'm thinking of.
There was one when we were getting voice clips for bleeping the things. There was like one word line, like compilation of one word lines. I think it was them that did that one as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. After your excessive swearing in one of the episodes, ridiculous. One thing, right? And I know obviously Frasier's it is dated in some aspects. And it is quite visibly dated in things like the fashion, the cars, the mobile phones, things like that. There are a lot of things that date it. But one thing that I thought that kind of offhandedly dates it is the mention of Kate's Macintosh PowerBook.
Yeah, no, that's true.
For multiple reasons. First of all, nobody calls it a Macintosh anymore.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't even know if they're actually... They are branded as Macintosh, are they?
Well, I suppose Apple's the
Well, yeah, but they're
the brand, but
the actual laptops.
Mac.
They're just Macs now,
MacBook.
aren't they? They're not Macintosh. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Probably should have checked that beforehand. But the PowerBook as well.
Yeah,
they were the big chunky ones, weren't they?
Yeah,
from early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that that's her current
Macintosh PowerBook. That's funny.
But it's kind of obviously supposed to be quite we broke your expensive laptop. And that's sort of brand new at the time. And now PowerBook. 30 years on, it's like, oh my god, a Macintosh PowerBook.
There's a similar line that must have been around about the same time in Friends. There's a clip where one of the characters buys a new laptop and he's talking about how fast it is and how amazing it is, and it's like, oh, it's got like 200 megabytes of RAM, and it's like, oh, the 90s, you know. You go back.
I know, nobody knew how big our computers would become.
My fridge probably has 200 megabytes of RAM at this point, you know? Like, it's just really funny.
Yeah. And the sort of, the other side, it's not even a B-plot, it's like a minor scene of Martin that kind of leads into the finale of the episode as well, is very funny. There's a neighbour, Deirdre Sauvage, which, by the way, excellent name.
Brilliant name.
You
see, if it isn't a pen name, she's an erotic novelist.
Romantic novelist, yeah.
If it isn't a pen name, she was born to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like the only job she could have gone into.
Yeah. And she's a bit infatuated with Martin, much to Martin's disappointment,
yes,
I suppose. And they are, Martin is sort of coerced into helping Deirdre move out, and they're using the service elevator, I think just because it's bigger, I guess,
presumably,
to move all the furniture and everything. And that is sort of central to the final scene where Frasier and Kate are trying to decide, or they have already decided to go their separate ways, to not let their incident happen again. And as they're riding down in the elevator, all of Deirdre Sauvage's nice erotic, like, I don't know, furniture frames, printed frames of the erotic novel covers,
and it's like scented oil.
There's like a horsewhip on the bed, I noticed. I was like, Jesus Christ. And the big bed in the middle of the room as well. And
I did find it really funny that it like just accidentally turns the lift into like a love pad, you know.
One thing I never noticed when I was younger, and I don't know if it was because I was just sort of ignorant to it or because I just genuinely didn't get the joke, I didn't realize that it was supposed to be Deirdre Sauvage's furniture,
right?
And that was her moving out. It never clicked in my head. Because Kate has a line to the effect of, "What kind of people live in your building?" Or something like that, when they're sort of uncovering the erotic posters and things. So in my head, I was always like, oh, the joke is Frasier's just got some weird people living in his building.
This is just stuff.
This is normal. This is just standard for all the strange people in the building. It never clicked that it's actually all of her stuff. So there you go.
It might not have been all her stuff.
It might not have been,
someone else's.
I suppose, yeah.
Could have been Cam Winston's musk oil.
Cam Winston. Oh, I can't wait till we get to Cam Winston.
I do love him.
That's going to be good.
He is great.
Yeah, and I mean, that's that. That is the episode. That's, it. Yeah. They decide to go their separate ways. And that is how it ends.
Yeah.
In the love pad elevator.
In the love pad. So, yeah, what do you think then? What would you rank the episode?
I think it's pretty good. I never really liked it, as with a lot of Kate's episodes. I never really liked it. But rewatching it, it is pretty good. It is pretty funny. The stuff with Niles at the start is great. A lot of Kate's jokes as well, and her delivery of them. The actual scene in the KCL booth when they do sleep together on air. Her provocation of Frasier,
yeah,
getting him to go along with it is very funny.
It is, yeah.
That was kind of what I was thinking when I was saying like her, when she accentuates her lines quite well. But the one thing I didn't like about it was how quickly they seemed to gloss over the fact that they slept together on air.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Frasier gets a suspension. He gets like a 1-week suspension.
Yeah.
Thanks to Kate. The station owner wanted him fired.
Mm-hmm.
So she does stick up for him, which is great.
Yeah.
But after that, they're all just kind of like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And after that, sort of that line that Kate says, you know, they wanted you fired. I stuck up for you. That's kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
For the last 5 minutes of the episode. They just kind of forget that they had sex on air.
Yeah, it doesn't come up again it comes up again in a couple of episodes' time.
Yeah.
But this is something that I was going to talk about with one of the later episodes here, is that there's kind of two plots going on at once in this disc. The kind of Frasier-Kate stuff.
Yep.
Plus the stuff that's being introduced in the next episode, which we'll get to in a minute. And then there's also a Christmas special in the middle. The third episode's a Christmas special, which feels kind of out of place, that it's like they've introduced these two big plot points that are still ongoing, and then they kind of taken aside to do the Christmas special, and they kind of offhandedly mention it, but not really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought something similar, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a bit of ups and downs, but mostly ups. So I settled for a high 3.
A high 3?
High 3 cupper.
I'm the same. I went for a 3. I think I kind of rounded it up a little bit because of the performances of Mercedes Ruehl and also David Hyde Pierce, as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it?
There you go. That's pretty much, that's all I've got
said
to say
everything
that
there was to be said.
There are a couple of little there's a guest caller. Sid Charisse calls in, who was a ballet dancer and performer, appeared in a bunch of musicals in the 1950s. It's not a name that I knew particularly well, but there you go, fairly famous person. She calls in while Frasier is filling in for Floyd, the happy chef.
Yes.
Which is why they're on so late at night, which kind of establishes Frasier and Kate sleeping together.
There we go. That's us glossing over plot points
we
now.
Are. Yeah. So he's filling in for Floyd, the happy chef. And I didn't think about this until I looked up on IMDb. There's a lot of people who think that that's a reference to Keith Floyd.
Yep.
Well-known English chef who kind of traveled around and whatever. And part of the reason that they think it's a reference to him specifically is because they talk about him being in rehab. And Keith Floyd is, as much as he is famous for being a chef, he's probably just as famous for being a complete lush. Like, he was just a drunk. And honestly, he was a champ. I love Keith Floyd. I think he was great.
Did he not pass away recently?
Not that recently. About 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, he did pass away though.
Yeah, he did.
You were saying is.
Oh, well, it was.
He is a lush, and like...
It was a lush.
I thought he was dead.
He is dead.
Yeah.
Yes, he was in life known as...
He was a lush.
Being a bit of a drunk, yeah. So kind of lends credence to that.
Yeah.
I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah,
I do like Keith Floyd.
Very well could be.
Anyway,
the writer's admiration for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of 3s.
And... I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I really hate it because I think we have one more episode with Kate after this, and I think this one does her justice a lot better than the final episode with her in it, and I'm really bitter about that.
Okay, well, that's fine,
and we will get to it.
We will
in a couple of episodes' time, but for now we're kicking off a huge plot point.
Yeah,
the one we have been alluding to for a couple of episodes now, I think. Actually, we've mentioned it. Niles and Maris are to be separated.
Yeah.
They are indeed.
Very dramatic.
And this is going to be an ongoing plot point for several seasons now.
Yeah.
As I said, I think it's not until season 6 that it's finally resolved.
Kind of wrapped up properly. Yeah.
Not to spoil too much, but
we do still have various Maris-related storylines
Yep.
right up until the last season.
A lot of ups and downs. Yeah. And then, sorry, as you say, a lot more Maris.
Mm-hmm.
She never really goes away, does she?
She doesn't.
So Niles is called into the station. Frasier's doing his show, as per usual, and he's absolutely frantic, and he has no idea where Maris is. She's completely vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Doesn't know what's going on. And everyone immediately drops everything they're doing. They're round at Niles' house. He's distraught. You can see it. And they're all trying to get to the bottom of what's happened. Martin phones his police buddies, and they figure out that Maris has flown off to New York to recreate her. What is it? Is her? What is it he calls it?
I can't
Sex
remember.
alive. I'm 35.
Yeah.
Or
Shopping spree.
Shopping spree.
Something like that.
Going to all these different big high names, Cartier and Tiffany's and whatever else. I don't
no
know.
restaurants.
And no restaurants, yeah. So she's not eating. Which, admittedly, at first, Niles doesn't seem too upset. He's more grateful that she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Frasier kind of gives him a little bit of a nudge, and he's justifiably angry about this, which kicks off him standing up to Maris for the first time.
Probably the first time ever, yeah.
It's certainly in a sort of big way. And instead of reflecting on her behaviour and understanding his anger, Maris just wants rid of him.
Yep.
And asks for a divorce.
And kicks him out.
Which is, we get a little bit sort of after. That's the main sort of crux of the episode, and we get a little bit of Niles sort of dealing with the immediate aftermath of that. Him, well, I say coping, attempting to cope with the reality of the situation, which is quite funny. Although I don't know that it should be funny.
No, it's not. It's
quite serious.
It is.
But it's one of. I don't want to say it's the first, because I don't know that it necessarily is, but it's, to me, I've always seen this as like the first big plot episode.
Yeah, no, it is in a way. Like, it's the first time that we're introducing a plot that goes on for more than a handful of episodes.
Yeah. And I always kind of see this episode as one of the big turning points in the season as well.
Oh, definitely.
It's the first time that the norm is kind of shaken up for good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the better, if you're looking at it sort of in Frasier's universe, I think for the better. Niles deserves a lot better than Maris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's obviously a lot of complexity to the situation and back and forth, and
there is.
Yeah. I like it. I like the episode a lot.
I do like this episode.
It is very good. They do retain a lot of the humour, even throughout the sort of very serious plot line.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it struggles a little bit riding the line on what is funny and what isn't when looking at Niles.
Yeah.
After Maris announces she wants the divorce, Niles is sort of in denial at first. Sort of in denial. He starts drinking beer. He buys a new pair of jeans, which is obviously out of character for him.
He's talking about growing a goatee.
Wants to grow a goatee. He wants to hit the gym. He's trying to decide whether aerobics or weight training are the quickest way to buff. Which is just a line that's so expertly delivered.
Which, as we all know, is also a shade of carpet colour.
Buff.
What
is it? Oh, I can't remember.
It's after there's a list. There's an order. When is this? This is like season 9 or something.
9 or 10.
There's a joke about Frasier's carpet being buff coloured.
It's very good. I do like that episode. That's so far
entirely off topic. Yes.
Yeah, but I think they kind of they ride the line and go over it a couple of times, I think, in poking fun at Niles for how he's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe this is just me being a bit sensitive about it, but I feel like they were a little bit indelicate with how... I mean, Niles is clearly having a breakdown.
Yeah.
And instead, I don't know, with the rest of the episode being sort of semi-serious, semi-plot heavy,
yeah,
rather than just funny, I can't help but feel they're kind of laughing at him and trying to make a joke out of the fact that he's been dumped and 10 years of his life is over.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know.
No,
I don't know if I'm describing it very well.
I can see that.
But...
Like, so when Niles stays with Frasier the day that it happens, that evening he stays there, they get up in the morning and Niles is gone.
Yeah.
And he's left a note that says something along the lines of, like, thank you for letting me stay here, but when you see this note, I'll be gone. I don't want to be a burden anymore.
Yeah.
Which very much, they joke that it reads like a suicide note.
Yeah.
And they kind of make a comment about, like, oh, the door to the balcony is closed and Martin's gun is whatever. But then Frasier just kind of offhandedly makes a joke about, they don't know where Niles is. That definitely reads like a suicide note.
100%.
And he makes a crack about Daphne's cooking.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what if he actually had killed himself?
Yeah.
You know, he's clearly emotionally unstable just now. It's not out of the realms of possibility. Yeah. How would Frasier have felt if Frasier, hadn't felt if he had made a joke about Niles killing himself and it turns out he actually had, you know?
Who would Niles regenerate as?
Oh God, I have no idea.
I'm still thinking about your question a couple of episodes back. That wasn't a serious question. You can ponder over it and we'll discuss it later.
I was going to say, who is it that plays Rodney in the start of season 4?
Oh God, no, don't. Bloody hell, right.
That's a great episode. Anyway,
and there you go. There's me interrupting your sincere critique of the show with a joke.
Never mind. Anyway, I agree with you. Like, I see where you're coming from with that. Like, they make jokes about him being in such an emotional state, only to then, I guess it's the final scene of the episode. Yeah, Niles goes. He goes back to the house, collect his things. He kind of says goodbye to the staff, collects some of his things, and he has an outburst on his way out. He kind of suddenly, he's been very calm and collected and claims that he's fine the whole time, and then loses it a bit as he's going out the door, saying, "This is my home, I'm not leaving, you can't make me leave," and talks about how much he's going to miss Maris. And Frasier points out, like, it's not a healthy relationship because X, Y, and Z, and kind of goes through it. And it is very, I don't want to say it's realistic, but it's sincere. It is. It's very, sincere is a better word for it. And it makes some of the jokes feel a bit out of place. Yeah. But I think that David Hyde Pierce does a great job of his very emotional acting. It comes across as funny when it is supposed to be funny, and it comes across as being sincere when it's supposed to be. No, I'd agree with you,
absolutely. Even the first scene, I think, when we're first at Niles' house, and they're sort of the Crane family are trying to figure out what to do with Maris, where she is. Mm-hmm. You know, Niles comes in, first of all, he's terrified, doesn't know what's happened to her. When they find out what's happened to her, he's overjoyed, he's happy, and then he kind of shifts to anger. Yeah. And there's very succinct acting from David Hyde Pierce in how he portrays the character through each of these emotions. And then, I suppose by extension, later on in the episode, he's sort of, when he's playing Niles in denial about what's going on, you can tell that he is in denial. He's not. He's an actor, that's what he's supposed to do, but just the way he does it is just so perfect. Yeah. It's just so perfect. And I don't think, we're talking about, regeneration, changing into a different actor or whatever. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone that could do
honestly don't Niles know if there is any other actor that could do that character.
No, there's just not. There's really not. And this is kind of the start of a big plot point. Yeah. Big plot. And it's sort of consistent in a lot of episodes. I don't want to say all, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mention of it in every episode. Because certainly for the next couple of discs.
I think it does get mentioned in every episode for the rest of this disc.
It's at least mentioned, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether it's sort of an offhanded joke, the fact that Niles is single, or whether it's actually something more serious, which we get in the next episode, it is mentioned. Yeah. It is sort of, we are continually reminded that this is going on in the background while Frasier's getting up to whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's that. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
That's boring. It's so boring when we give the
I
same.
know,
but it's
fine. I know that we're disagreeing about one that's later on. So I would give it a 4 because I think it is really very good. The thing that stops me from giving it a 5 is I don't like how much it focuses on Frasier throughout the episode. I think there's a lot that it's not, here is a story about Niles dealing with his relationship coming to an end. Yeah. It's, here is a story about Frasier and how he is dealing with Niles' relationship coming to an end.
That's fair.
And how he kind of sticks his nose in and goes to talk to Maris. And like, you know, he goes and tries to appeal to Maris and she just, chucks a bucket of water on his head and releases the hounds.
Something.
You know, and it's not a bad scene. It's just, I would have preferred to see more of Niles going through what he's going through.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a bit more whatever.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, see, the reason for me was what we spoke about. The reason for not giving it the elusive 5 was purely because I think they misjudge some of the humour a little bit.
Yeah.
In contrast to the more serious topics that they go through.
They do touch on some pretty heavy stuff here.
Well, as you mentioned, like the sort of the suicide joke is a little bit. Don't know about that, but yeah, it's still very good. It's still very funny. Mm-hmm. It's just not quite a full package.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 You looked like you were about to start saying something.
I was, but then I realised that I've spent enough time talking about episodes that we've not actually watched yet, so I'm not gonna bother talking about something that's not happened yet.
Well, do we have any guest callers? Because that has happened.
We do have a guest caller, yes. Paul Mazursky, who I did not really know him from anything, to be honest. If you know, I looked him up on IMDb. He's been in lots and lots of different things.
Okay.
But nothing that I was really familiar with. If you do know who Paul Mazursky is, good for you. Pat on the back.
Well done.
Pat on the head.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he calls it. It's quite a funny line. He calls in and he's talking about like how he's sleeping around a lot, and then Frasier kind of goes like, "Yeah, all right, whatever. What's your problem?" He says, "Oh, I've lost a pinky ring."
Pinky ring.
And I wanted to call in to see if I could petition all of these women that I've slept with who listen to your show, so they call it back. And Frasier kind of chews him out on the air, saying, "You know, you not only do you know nothing about women, you also know nothing about jewelry." You know,
I kind of like a pinky ring. I don't know. There's something quite.
I'm not big on like man jewelry at all, to be totally honest.
Meh.
Like that's just a personal thing.
That's fair.
But like, yeah, I don't really do jewelry.
No. Fine. Maybe you should get a pinky ring. See if it changes your mind.
Nah. I mean, it might.
I'm going to get you one for your next birthday. Then you won't have a choice.
Okay, that's fine.
You have to wear it in my presence.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you make me feel bad.
Sure.
Okay, so a 4 for the last time I saw Maris. I don't think I even said the episode title.
No, I guess not. The last time.
That was silly. Well, I'll do it this time. So the next one is Frasier Grinch.
Yes.
Our second, and I had to double check this because there isn't one in season 2.
No, there isn't one.
It is our second Christmas special.
Yep.
It is one that surprised me.
Yeah.
This is the one that surprised me.
Did you like it more than you thought you were going to?
I very much did.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny, and I always hated it, and I don't really know why now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to second guess my previous opinions.
Yeah.
Or at least I was until an episode coming up.
Yeah.
In which I was like, nah, this is as bad as I remember it. So for our second Christmas special, we also have our first appearance of Frederick, Frasier's son.
Yes.
Who's played by a different actor from all subsequent appearances.
He is. He's played by Luke Tarsitano. in this episode.
Okay.
Who I looked up to see if he still very occasionally appears in small roles on TV, but I don't think he does an awful lot of acting now.
He's played in later seasons by Trevor Einhorn, who has had a pretty significant career after that. He had a huge role in Mad Men, which I know him from as well, and occasionally in sort of other sitcoms. And
there was something more recently that was like a police drama or like a legal drama that I think he was.
I was going to say, was he not in,
but I can't remember what it was.
Order or something.
Might have been.
Can't remember what. But yeah, he's done pretty well. After starting off as Frasier Crane's son.
Yeah.
But that's by the by. That's not until next season that we meet Trevor Einhorn. So it's Christmas time. Frederick's flying in. Frasier's dead excited. It's his first time in Seattle. I think it is. I don't know if they do mention I think it's either Frederick visiting or Frasier going out to Frederick.
Yeah.
But they sort of confirm this is the first time that he's come out. Or maybe it's the first time for Christmas.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
That's what they say. And Frasier's just kind of getting wound up by everything.
He is.
He's just a proper Grinch, as the title suggests.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to deal with Martin's joy and decorations everywhere.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go shopping. He realizes that he needs to get some gifts for Frederick after a mix-up in the postal service.
Yeah.
They have to go to the mall, the strip mall.
I know.
At Christmas time, which
there's nothing worse. I can't.
Hell.
Yeah.
Absolute hell. And they sort of have this other... Everyone's having a go at Frasier.
Yeah.
Because he basically gives crap gifts.
Yeah, he gives gifts that he thinks they should like.
Yeah.
And not things that they actually want.
Yeah.
As Martin puts it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a pretty common pitfall in gift giving.
I was going to say, I can sympathize. I am very bad at giving gifts.
I'm bad at giving gifts, yeah. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I've gotten some good gifts from you over the years.
I was going to say, I've got some good gifts from you as well.
Okay, well, that's fine then.
Okay. Well,
we're not as bad as we thought. I love my globe. It's like my prized possession.
Oh, you've got,
drinks globe. Oh, man,
that was a few years back. We got a big drinks globe.
I do love it.
That would fit nicely in Frasier's apartment, I reckon.
It would, yeah.
Maybe Niles.
Yeah, maybe more of a Niles thing.
I think maybe a Niles thing. Yeah. There we go. That's fine. Younger brother.
Yeah.
Drinks globe. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the whole sort of the plot of this episode, I suppose, is Frasier's a bit of a grumpy Gus.
Yeah.
Around Christmas time, and everyone's kind of calling him out on it. And really, all he wants to do is impress Frederick. And I do feel a bit sorry for him, because his son's coming in for the first time, and he's just a bit stressed about it all. He wants everything to be perfect, and it's just kind of not going his way.
Yeah.
I suppose. So I do sympathize. But this episode, rewatching it, really surprised me, because it has some absolutely cracking scenes.
Yeah.
The scene in KCL at the office Christmas party.
It is funny.
Is hilarious. I was howling watching it earlier.
Yeah.
Bulldog and Gil, they're a force to be reckoned with.
They are. I think when the two of, because they're so different, but when the two of them team up,
yeah,
they're great.
So Frasier is running off his show. He sends Roz away, ostensibly to catch her plane early or whatever, but really because she just makes silly faces at him while he reads his Christmas fable on air.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So he writes... I don't know if he writes them. I presume it's implied that he writes his own.
I guess.
His little sort of Christmas tale of good fortune and goodwill and whatever. And as he tries to read this, Bulldog and Gil come in, and it's all... It's really weirdly framed, the scene, because it focuses on Gil and Bulldog while Frasier's reading it. I could not tell you a word that Frasier says.
Yeah.
While reading his tale, because you're so focusing on Bulldog and Gil and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they pull down the decorations from around the office.
Yeah.
And then hang it around Frasier.
See, when they put the lights, they like drape the lights around him like he's a Christmas tree, and he kind of says, and Frasier, puts the cough button on so he can yell at them and kind of says like, "You're not going to distract me. It's not going to work." Yeah. And then Bulldog flicks the switch and the lights turn on. Yeah, it is really funny. And just him he gets the lighter out and starts trying to light the paper on
Bulldog
fire.
Has this little like cheeky look on his face,
Frasier's really
and he just holds out the lighter, and he just gets it closer and closer to Frasier's sheet, and he keeps blowing it out.
Yeah.
And then they bring in Candy Kane, the Christmas stripper.
Yeah. Well, sure. If you name your kid that, what else are they going to be?
I hope it's not a stage name. I hope her name is actually Candy Kane.
Yeah. Citizen Kane's daughter.
The sequel, focusing on Candy Kane.
Candy Kane.
Bloody hell. Oh, okay. But yeah, what kind of office allows a stripper for their Christmas party? I want to be part of that office, man.
Hey, we work together now. We can we can arrange it.
That would not swing. No, you would not.
It would not. We would get the sack.
No way would you get away with that these days. But it does provide a good laugh. She comes in dressed as Santa Claus with a big outfit on, and then reveals all, and it's very funny and distracting for Frasier while he's reading his goat fable.
The goat fable.
A lonely little goat herd.
Yeah.
But that whole scene, it just has me in stitches every time. It's so funny. Gil and Bulldog, again, just... I want more of them. I want a spin-off where they're doing their own show or something. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I did say before, because one of my favorite episodes of all time, it was the one that I said was my favorite in season 1, is Oops, which is it centers around KACL.
Yeah.
I do love seeing them as a team. I think this is the closest that we get to a Christmas episode like set in the KACL office Christmas party.
Yeah.
Like, we do see Christmas parties again a couple of times in the future.
Yeah.
But this is the only time that we see them like getting up to shenanigans at the office Christmas party as like a proper source of humor in the show. And it's a bit of a shame that we don't get that as a full
love to see more
episode.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to see
would be
more
good.
of that. But yeah, that scene's great. That kind of kicks off the tone of the episode, I suppose. The sort of and the scene at the mall as well.
Yeah.
Which and I, as I was writing my notes, I was like, "This is so funny." Blah blah blah. The writing's great. As I do, just kind of hammering at the keys. And then I was like, you know what? This is such a cliche.
Yeah.
The late night Christmas run. Everything's sold out. They don't know what to do. They're trying to get a present. I think every single sitcom has had
probably
a last minute Christmas store visit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a series that I've watched that has a Christmas episode, but doesn't have this trope in it.
Yeah.
And I can't think of one.
There's got to be
There will be.
There will be somewhere, but there's got to be a
majority.
plot like that in lots of different shows.
But the line, so Niles and Frasier go together to the mall, and Niles is just like, I was going to say a kid at Christmas. He's just an adult at Christmas, looking over all the kids' toys, and he puts like the helmet on, that like sprays water and has an alarm on the helmet and stuff, and he's just loving it, which is great. And Frasier's just this grumpy old man trying to find his son's present, and it's just such a great contrast to watch. It's always so funny. And they do eventually get a hold of some presents from this man, who's been shopping at like an educational store.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it. And he kind of blackmails, I guess.
I suppose a little bit.
Not really, but sort of.
He's willing to sell them the toys,
them.
but gouges them is probably the best way to put it.
For over a couple of £100 worth of toys for a grand.
He says $1,000.
$1,000. But that lines up nicely with Niles, who is able to write the man a check. And that is absolutely fine, because Maris has cut off all of his accounts.
Yeah.
Which is sort of another thing that sort of on goes through in the background of the episode.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're saying about the little bits and pieces that kind of build up post divorce. Well, they're not divorced yet.
Post separation.
Post separation. These little things that I was going to say they always have a point, but I don't know that they do.
No, maybe not.
I think
just used as little jokes or whatever.
Yeah, bits and pieces here and there. And yeah, it's just such a great scene. Just the contrast with Niles and Frasier.
Yeah,
I love it. It's good. And of course, once again, Martin saves the day.
He does.
At the end, he knowing full well that Frasier will not listen to him, and will get Frederick the gifts that he thinks he needs, rather than the one that he wants. Martin gifts Frasier the present that Frederick actually wants, which is really sweet.
It is, yeah.
It's really
it's nice seeing that Martin cares in his own slightly distant way, enough to kind of step in and do that, which is something we have seen before. Like, it's not he's not the kind of person that's like, oh, I care so much, I'm going to step in and I'm going to do this and make a big show of it. It's like very subtly, like, he does what other people need from him, and not, you know.
Well, we see even in the previous episode with Niles and Maris, Martin makes a point several times throughout the episode saying, it's not really my business.
Yeah.
You know, this is between Niles and Maris. This isn't anything to do with me. You do what you need to do, kind of thing, and we'll support you. But at the end of the episode, it reveals that he actually does have an opinion.
Yeah.
And he is trying to stay out of it.
Not very successfully.
Not very successfully at the end. He does make his feelings known.
Yeah.
But yeah, he obviously does. He was a detective. He sees things. He knows what's going on. He knows how the world works.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gets Frasier that outlaw laser robo geek, which is just an awful name.
It is.
It's an awful name for a toy. Who would buy that?
Lots of people, apparently.
Apparently, lots of people. Yeah, it's sold out. Anyway, good episode. Some really funny scenes.
Yep.
Quite a heartfelt moment towards the end with Martin and Frasier, which I love. And that is why I gave it a 4 out of 5.
A 4?
A 4 out of 5.
Fair enough.
I really, it surprised me because I never really liked this episode. I always thought it was a bit boring. Yeah. There's very few Frederick episodes that I like.
Yeah.
I think it's not really him taking the attention away, but it's just the plots of them are always a wee bit thin because they try and focus on him a bit too much. I don't know.
I guess
I'll maybe change my mind when we get. I know the next one. I know the first episode with Trevor Einhorn as Frederick. I don't like.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that one, and I don't think that'll change. But the subsequent ones, never know.
Fair enough.
Maybe we'll change. But yeah, what did you think?
So I gave it a 2.
Only a 2?
I went down a little bit. What? But I think part of the reason that I give it a 2, and I don't know if it's not really fair to criticize the episode for this, but like I said earlier on, I don't think it really fits very well in this flow of episodes because there are references to the whole Niles-Maris separation, but it's so weird that we set up the whole thing with Frasier and Kate. That's still ongoing. It's still quite up in the air. Then we have this huge bombshell of Niles and Maris getting separated. It feels weird having this episode in the middle, not really addressing any of it that much. I mean, it does with Niles and Maris a bit, but not. There's no, Niles having a bit of a crisis because it's his first Christmas without Maris or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, there is the office Christmas party, but there's no mention of Kate.
Yeah, Kate's not there. Yeah,
which is a bit strange considering what's been going on. I don't know. I think it's not that the episode is bad. It's just it feels very disjointed to me, and that makes me enjoy it.
I wonder if maybe the episodes were intended for a different order.
See, that was one of the things I was thinking. Like the writers obviously can't control time. They were like, we have this stuff set up where it needs to be, but then we need to do a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Here at this point, it needs to be the 8th episode in, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
So that's actually that's yeah.
I don't necessarily mean it as criticism of the writing or anything. I don't think the episode's bad. It does feel disjointed because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe just unfortunate.
Yeah, possibly
Timing of the episode,
possibly. See, I think there's a couple of times this happens that we've got sort of very serious plots going on in the background, and we have a sort of breather episode in the middle. I'm not adverse to it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I quite like them. Sometimes I'm like, okay, let's get back to the plot. Let's get back to the proper stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm just like, they're usually pretty good episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason they're standalone kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. For me, it's not as big an issue, but fair enough.
Yeah, cool.
Any guests?
Yes, we do. We have quite a funny call from Ray Liotta.
Oh, I like Ray Liotta.
Yeah, he's good. I think he's really funny.
He is good.
He is like, it's a shame that, I mean, I say it's a shame. It's not. He's a bit typecast as like in kind of gangster movies.
A little bit.
Because he was in Goodfellas.
Yep.
He's very good in Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good film. And he was good in it.
It was, yeah.
Goodfellas. Anyway.
You kind of just tapered off with that sentence.
I was. It's because I realised I was saying good a lot, but it's fine. So yeah, he was in that, and he was very good in that, and I think that caused him to be in a lot of other gangster things.
Yeah.
But he's been in a decent amount of comedy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Usually playing a kind of gangster type character, but in a very funny way. I think he does actually have quite a good kind of set of skills for comedy acting as well.
What kind of funny? Like, haha, funny?
Funny like a clown.
Funny like a clown?
Yeah. But I think he's good in this. So he calls in, he's at the airport, he's about to fly home for Christmas, and then he realizes there's a flight going to, is it Maui?
Hawaii?
Hawaii?
Yeah.
And he says, like, it's calling my name. I want to go and get on the flight to Hawaii. I don't want to go home for Christmas. Tell me to go home. And then kind of talks about, like, you go to visit your family for Christmas and all they do is talk about the turkey. No one ever has any real conversation, and Frasier and Roz kind of agree. They're like, oh yeah, but that's what it's like for everyone. And he's like, okay, you've helped me make up my mind. And then he says, Mele Kalikimaka.
Yeah. And off to Hawaii.
And he goes away to Hawaii, which is funny. Yeah, I think it's quite a good call. I think it's funny.
Yeah, that's good. It's nice. In the Christmas spirit of things. Mm-hmm. Good. So from Christmas, from our little breather episode, we're back into the plot and the finale of Kate's story.
Yeah.
It's hard to say goodbye if you won't leave. And you know what? I'm just going to say it straight off the bat. I really didn't enjoy this episode.
Really don't like it?
I really don't like it. I think after having my change of heart with Kate on this rewatch and really enjoying her character and performance in the last few episodes, I think this episode kind of ruins that for me.
Yeah.
And I think it really doesn't do the character justice, especially as the final episode for her. I think is a shame. I think we could quite easily have gotten another at least 3 or 4 episodes out of Kate over the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the reasons were for her leaving. I don't know if it was a writer decision or an actor decision or just that was the plan all along. Mm-hmm. But I think this episode feels rushed. It feels out of the blue, and it to me anyway, it feels like it ruins the previously established characteristics of Kate.
Yeah, in a way.
It'd be interesting to see what you think about it, but for me, I think it completely changes the character of Kate for the worse, which is a shame. It's a real shame. But anyway, we will get to that. So Kate has... Well, sorry, I'll start right from the start. Frasier is beginning to wonder whether he made the right decision with Kate. They've obviously decided to go their separate ways. They're not going to continue a relationship. And Frasier sees her at the office and they're chatting and he starts to drift off and think about her and the time they spent together in the office on the booth desk.
Yes.
And he starts to sort of consider that. and wonder if they made the right decision and whether he does genuinely have feelings for her and whether he should pursue a relationship. And with the help of the rest of the family, Niles and his VHS tape of Casablanca, he does decide to pursue it. And it's sort of implied that Kate is thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
She's sort of wondering whether she wants a relationship as well. But she is leaving town.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. This really annoys me. Yeah. Thinking about it, it really annoys me that they just decided to get rid of her. I don't know what it is. She gets offered a job in Chicago,
running the station, running a different radio station that's owned by the same people.
Right.
So it's like the same owners as KACL.
Yeah, okay.
So presumably it would just be another station manager job. It's not like it would be like a promotion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess part of the reason that she's leaving is because of Frasier.
But it doesn't say that. They never say that in the episode. And that's something else that annoys me. It's like, if they had made the whole deal about, oh, I can't stand to be around you. I'm so in love with you. It's ruining my work. I need to go somewhere else. That's a reason to leave. Fine, I get that.
It would make more sense.
But it's just kind of like, she's decided to leave for no reason. She's taking a similar job in a different city, but for no real reason.
Yeah.
And then the fact that she is still thinking about Frasier and their relationship and their shot, it's kind of like she's just walking away from everything for no reason other than because that's how it is, because that's how they've written it. And it just really, really annoys me.
Yeah.
But they have, so most of the episode is sort of set up to the big goodbye, I guess.
Yeah.
At the airport. They decide they want to pursue a relationship, basically. So Frasier follows Kate to the airport. He can't convince her to stay, but they do decide to sort of try long distance, I guess.
I suppose so.
To give it a shot, but from halfway across the country.
Doesn't seem like a good idea.
It doesn't seem like a good idea at all. But whatever. And Kate is trying to get on the plane, but various things keep stopping her. The flight breaks down, and I guess that's the reason for the title of the episode.
I suppose so.
I keep saying, like, it's hard to say goodbye if you won't leave, but it's not that she won't leave, it's that she can't leave. And she only tries to leave once. There's a consistent number of things stopping her from leaving. It's just this one flight breaks down.
Yeah.
And she gets on another flight eventually as well. I think I'm just
finding more and more things.
I think I'm actually just looking for things now that I don't like with this episode.
It was because it wasn't on all four, and that pissed you off, and now you're...
It was annoying.
Oh, I'm sorry. That annoyed you, and that... We're going to have to bleep that. I'm sorry.
I think pissed is fine.
That should be all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, Yeah, no, I can understand that. Like, they're valid criticisms, definitely. Like, the thing that I like about the episode is... So... Frasier and Kate start talking in the airport when they kind of decide, right, we're actually going to give this a go. Yeah, you're moving to Chicago, but we can do long distance, whatever. Give it a go. Let's get to know each other properly on a personal level, which they, I guess, haven't done up to this point. And kind of they start talking about their hobbies and their interests and whatever. And this is when we start to realize that they're completely incompatible.
Yeah.
You know, Kate has a cat and loves cats. And Frasier is allergic.
Yeah.
Kate doesn't want children, and Frasier does. Kate wants to move out to the country, and Frasier wants to stay in the city, and whatever. Like, their interests are completely incompatible. And there's this... And then when Kate finally does leave, there's the moment when they look at each other, and it's like they know that they're not going to see each other again. Mm-hmm. Like, all of this, I'll come out to Chicago and visit you. Like, they realize that was all just pretense because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And Frasier says, pity though. And Kate just says, isn't it? And then she leaves. And it's like that kind of silent acknowledgement of, like, they have all this chemistry, but, like, it clearly wouldn't work. And they're just resigning themselves to that.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's sad. And it's not a situation that you see an awful lot in stories like this, where it's like two characters have all this chemistry. Usually it'll be they have all this chemistry and then they end up together. Or they have all this chemistry and then one of them has to leave and it's a big dramatic goodbye. You never really have the exploration of like, what if they do start dating and they're just not compatible on a personal level? And I don't know, yeah. I kind of like seeing that. They do mention that it's kind of like The Way We Were. Because they're talking about these like classic films.
I've never seen The Way We Were.
No, neither have I.
Okay.
But
so
that's why I'm saying like I know I'm saying like, oh, it's not something we see very often. Maybe it is something we see.
Maybe
very
it
often,
is. It's just not ones we've seen.
It.
But no, I agree. It's nice, and it, from that aspect, it's well acted as well, and it's sort of something a bit different in terms of the end of a relationship, I suppose. Yep. Which fine, fair enough. Yeah, I get it. But I think when they first introduce Kate, we're under the impression that she is very similar to Frasier.
Yeah.
She's classically trained. She's been to, I want to say Harvard. It wasn't Harvard she went to because she always makes fun of Frasier for it. But she went to
highly educated.
Highly educated, one of the Ivy Leagues or whatever, wherever she was. She knows her opera, she knows her classical music. She obviously knows the radio game.
Very good at her job.
Yeah. And she's a match for Frasier. And so we're kind of, as the audience, led to believe that they are similar and they do have similar interests. And, you know, Niles, when they go to the Japanese art exhibit, she's obviously a fan of art and things like that. And then here, they kind of reduce her to a cat lady who wants to live on a ranch and not do any of these high class things. And to me, that makes no sense.
Yeah, no, that's true. I can definitely.
And I get it. Absolutely, you can be one of those people who enjoys. It sounds really pretentious when I'm saying enjoy these high class things. That's not. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like enjoy like the art and the opera, but also go
cats.
Own pets and you want to live out in the countryside, things like that. They're not mutually exclusive, but in terms of establishing a character, they kind of are. When you're writing a show and you're establishing a character and their personality and their traits, it's very hard for me to believe that you're writing a character who loves both unless you have explicitly introduced them as someone who loves both.
Yeah.
So to me, it's kind of a turnaround at the last second.
It is. No, I agree.
And to me, it ruins the character. And I'm really bitter about that.
No, it's fair enough.
Which, just rewatching it, I'm like, they really do. They don't do her justice at all. I think she deserved a much better ending or more episodes, and can't win them all, I suppose.
No, you can't.
So presumably you gave it a little bit of a higher rating than I did.
I give it a 3.
Okay.
I didn't. So not very highly rated, but I do. Yeah, like I said, I do enjoy the kind of emotional aspect of that relationship. They keep referencing Casablanca.
Yep.
Because Niles and Martin and Daphne sit and watch Casablanca.
Yeah.
And then they kind of make a lot of jokes about the parallels between them and like going to the airport and telling them not to leave or telling them they should leave, whatever. Yeah. And it's, I don't know. I think it's quite funny. I think there's a lot of good jokes in there. But overall, no, you're right. I don't think the plot makes an awful lot of sense. It's a pretty unsatisfying roundup of Kate's story for someone that I think is one of the possibly the most underrated character in the show.
It's certainly one of them.
I think she has a lot of potential that isn't really lived up to. And it's like I said last week, personally, I think it would have been really good if Kate, instead of being a romantic interest for Frasier, had just kept a more antagonistic role as the like boss that is Frasier's equal in some ways and also superior in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah.
And they had that back and forth that we see in the first couple of episodes is better than the romantic aspect that we see in this disc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we probably could have done with a bit of... I know we had, you know, as I said, like sort of the breather episodes in between The Adventures of Bad Boy and Dirty Girl when they sleep together and this episode, the finale. But we definitely could have done with another Kate episode.
Yes.
In between.
Yeah.
Not just because I want more of her, but just sort of...
It would have helped.
It would have...
Build up to this.
Exactly. Yeah. It would definitely have helped...
Yeah.
Helped to believe that Frasier is thinking about their relationship, and they kind of just jump straight back into it. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we see Kate since they slept together.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm still thinking about her. I was like, well, yeah, of course you are, because you only saw her one episode ago.
Yeah.
So it doesn't... Yeah. Okay, right. I'm going to start ranting. I'm going to tell you it was a 1 out of 5
you
for
give
me.
It a 1. Yeah.
Which you could probably guess. And I think we should move on to the next episode. Unless we have any nice guest callers, anything.
No, I don't think we do in this one, actually.
No, that's a shame.
No.
The Friend.
The Friend.
Is the following episode.
Mm-hmm.
Frasier is out of friends. He has Niles, he has Martin and Daphne, but Ed O'Hanlon has moved away, Edmund Kelly is dead.
Yep.
And everyone else is back in Boston.
Yeah.
As we surmise at the start of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So Frasier decides to find a new friend, which he does by announcing on his radio show that he wants new friends.
Probably not the best way to go about it.
Definitely not the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a silly plan. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. And yeah, Roz tries to tell him not to do it. Of course he doesn't listen, because why would he? He knows best.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he is quite quickly greeted with a barrage of weirdos.
Yeah, they are strange people calling and faxing. And I think anyone, I mean, I suppose this was the 90s, but anyone who sends a fax, I'm immediately going to assume is weird.
I mean, these days, definitely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Send a fax these days, who knows what's going on in your head. But we have, Garth from Tacoma, who keeps a trunk full of dead squirrels. Which is one of the facts they retrieve. What's the guest caller's name?
I can't
remember his name.
Gerard
calls in and seems perfectly normal, and he wants a friend and everything, and then he says to Frasier, yeah, it'd be nice, we could hang out, we could sit and chat, have a coffee, maybe comb each other's hair. And you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But amongst all of these weirdos, we do get a fax. So I suppose he's a weirdo if he sent a fax. But we get a fax from Bob. From Bob, who seems like a very normal listener, normal person.
Yeah.
Frasier decides that he would like to make friends with Bob. And it doesn't go well.
It doesn't
go well.
Yeah.
As if we ever thought it would.
So Frasier goes to meet Bob, and at first they seem to get along because they do have a decent bit in common.
Yep.
Or they at least have one or two fairly important things in common.
Yeah. Things like the art and
the
culture-wise.
Art. They're both collectors of first edition Mark Twains, which is... That's a pretty niche thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have in common.
Yeah.
A good foundation for a friendship. But Frasier realizes quite quickly that he's going to be irritated by him because Bob is into barbecue. One thing.
I mean, yeah.
He's very into barbecue.
Yeah.
He's a professional photographer, but Frasier assumes that he was like a photojournalist or something, but then he's actually, he takes kids' portraits at Value Mart.
Yeah.
Which Frasier looks down on, and like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Bob wouldn't annoy me, because he probably would.
Yeah.
He seems very chatty and seems to go on about things that aren't necessarily all that... I don't know if I have enough of an interest in barbecue to keep talking to Bob. But the thing that bothers me a lot in this episode is that Frasier seems very dismissive of him over pretty petty things when they do still have that bit in common. He could at any point have just been like, oh, so tell me about these books that you're collecting. Clearly he is a fairly cultured person if he's quoting Mark Twain off the top of his head, and they have similar outlooks on life in that they reach out to each other because of this desire to make friends later in life. I don't know. I think Bob gets a bit of a bum rap in this one.
Ooh.
He is presented as being pretty strange. He wears a funny hat, and he is definitely very overbearing. He gets very friendly with Frasier very quickly and doesn't leave him alone, which is bad. But the issue isn't Bob so much here. I think the issue is more that Frasier is completely unwilling to just like put the boundaries down and talk to him like an adult, because Bob is in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And Frasier is worried that he's going to take it the wrong way, which I think is very condescending.
Yes.
And
it's also not the last time something similar
No, it's definitely
later.
not.
Not with a wheelchair-bound person, but similar situation. But I would disagree with you.
Yeah.
Saying that Bob is normal, standard person.
No,
I don't know what you're trying. I know what you're trying to say, but
yeah, they kind of portray him as being more of a weirdo than he actually is. Like, sure, he's a bit annoying, but like, I don't think he's necessarily that much worse than someone like Cliff from Cheers, for example. And they were friends.
See, I disagree.
Yeah?
I disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I really disagree. I think Bob's a complete weirdo.
Okay.
I think he is a psychopath.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Okay, maybe we're going a bit far. But they have their conversation at the start about, as you say, like the photography and the Mark Twain books and whatever. And then he starts talking about barbecue, and he doesn't stop. He has zero social awareness whatsoever.
Yeah.
He cannot tell that Frasier isn't interested, even though he's visibly... He visibly does not care, and Bob just cannot tell. And he doesn't oil his wheelchair, which I know is a silly thing, but he's squeaking all over town. How could you not notice that?
Yeah,
he clearly either doesn't care, in which case he's a sociopath, or he doesn't notice, which just adds credence to the fact that he just doesn't have that kind of awareness.
Yeah.
And just the next morning, they go out for dinner at the barbecue place. Bob shows up at Frasier's house, having got his address somewhere online.
Off the internet. Yeah.
With bagels as if he's invited. Like, that is...
No, that is...
sociopathic behavior.
That is unhinged, yeah.
It's also stalking.
You're quite right.
It's stalking. He is following Frasier around.
Yeah.
And I think you are also right in that Frasier should have just set boundaries straight off the bat. You know, his I don't know what you would call it, abled guilt,
I guess.
Because he is not in a wheelchair. He doesn't want to be seen to insult Bob because of that. Is very cringy to watch. It's the same sort of scenario as the diner scene in season 1, where he just doesn't want to admit that he's wrong, that he's in this situation he doesn't want to be in, which is absolutely his fault. But at the same time, Bob is like verging on criminal behavior, like stalking wise. So I don't really have any sympathy for him, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough.
And I really don't like him as a character. I know that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But he kind of terrifies me a little bit. Like, honestly, I'd be afraid that he'd put mesquite under my duvet and then set me on fire and barbecue me.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I do disagree with you there. I don't think he's the kind of redeemable, lovable, down on his luck friend.
Yeah.
That you're sort of almost supposed to think. I think he's a psychopath.
Fair enough.
I think he's evil. I think he's pure evil.
You're just saying that because he's in a wheelchair, aren't you?
That scene at the end is...
It's hard. Like, I don't know...
so awful.
What overcame Frasier.
Yeah.
There, like that's definitely the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
Like once he decides to be honest with him.
Yeah.
And say, I don't want to spend time with you anymore because I don't like you.
Which is like, it's a hard thing to hear.
He starts,
but it is the right thing to do in the long term.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He starts off being polite about it and kind of says like, I just don't think we have anything in common, and I don't think we should stay close as friends because I don't think we've really got much of a connection.
Yeah.
And then Bob kind of tries to encourage him to say like, what is it that you don't like about me? Which I think is a reasonable thing. If someone doesn't like you, if someone hated me, I would kind of want to know why. It's like, am I doing something? Or is it you that's being unreasonable?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
Yeah.
And then Frasier at that point kind of lays into him, saying like, you go on and on about barbecue. You've got terrible fashion sense.
Yeah.
He does say like, you don't leave me alone and I feel suffocated, which is, reasonable. But he kind of lays into him and then at that point decides to go back on that.
Well,
Bob says, I kind of wish that it was just because of the wheelchair, because then at least you would be the jerk. And I think Frasier tries to
then do that to
make him feel better, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I suppose it's a noble sentiment.
Yeah.
But a really stupid thing to do.
Oh, incredible.
In a crowded place saying like, oh no, I think you're wonderful, but I don't want to be friends with you because you're in a wheelchair.
I know. It's horrible. And everyone in the cafe is sort of disgusted.
Yeah.
Quite rightly so.
Yeah.
Quite rightly so. Even though he was, I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to let Bob go away with a bit of dignity, I guess, and sort of, it's not, your personality isn't awful, it's just a physical attribute that I can't get over, kind of thing, which obviously he can't change. So yeah, it is sort of a noble effort, but such a stupid thing to say in practice.
It really is.
Especially when he doesn't actually believe it.
Yeah.
It would almost be better if he did just hate Bob because he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because then it's undeniably like, okay, he's just an asshole then. And that's fine. But here he's like acting like an asshole. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible situation. It's really hard to watch as well.
It is.
And it's just gross.
So I'm not really big on this episode because of that. I'm guessing you're in a similar boat with
this
one.
But despite that scene and despite Bob the psychopath, Shish Kebab the psychopath.
Shish Kebab.
I think there are some good moments. There are some funny moments, particularly with Niles. Niles is feeling a bit brushed to the side.
Yeah.
After Frasier goes and decides to make a new friend. He feels a bit insulted by that, so he's trying to make new friends and show that he doesn't care and things like that. And I think that's very funny. And I also think that the whole situation is the whole plot of the episode is quite interesting. It's kind of an acknowledgement that Frasier and Niles, I suppose by extension, are not particularly well liked by people. They don't have a lot of people that are close to them.
Yeah.
And also the exploration of, if you don't have friends, how do you make friends?
Yeah.
Which is something I've always wondered.
How do you make friends as an adult is not easy.
So I kind of like those aspects of things, but yeah, the whole Bob thing weighs it down a lot. So what did you give?
I would give it a 2.
Okay, fine. I settled for a 2 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are bits that I like. I think Raw's quite, I don't want to say smug because it's completely justified, but Raw's warns Frasier, like, don't do this. It's a bad idea. Opening yourself up to weirdos. And then, of course, she's just proven right.
Absolutely
completely.
Right. 100% right.
And then even later on, once Bob is more in the picture, she just continues winding Frasier up. And she has a lot of good lines doing that, which I really like. So I didn't feel right giving it a one.
That was kind of my attitude as well. Yeah. It's not quite that bad, but poor Bob. No, not poor Bob. Not poor Bob. The man's a psychopath.
Okay, there you go.
We're not supposed to feel sorry for him. He's evil.
I don't know if we are.
I don't know if he's evil, but anyway. Come Lie With Me.
Mm-hmm.
Last episode on the disc. The title referencing Daphne and Joe, who is still in the picture.
Yes.
Their physical intimacy under Frasier's roof.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot happens in this episode.
Not really.
It feels quite short, and I know it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the regular 20 minutes, but it feels quite short to me.
I can see why you think
it's
that,
just kind of not really. I don't know. Daphne and Joe wake up, having spent the night together in Daphne's room in Frasier's house in Elliott Bay Towers, in Seattle.
Yes.
And they quickly realise that the rest of the household is up and awake, and they've not really experienced that before.
Mm-hmm.
Joe hasn't, I think it's implied that he hasn't spent the full night, but he has been over and then sort of left in the middle of the night for fear of confrontation, I guess, with Frasier. They don't really know where they stand.
Yeah.
And it's quickly revealed through a bit of a farce trying to get Joe out the door that Frasier is not comfortable at all with Daphne sleeping with someone under his roof. And honestly, what a dick.
Oh yeah.
Like,
totally unreasonable.
Come on.
Like, she's been there for 3 years.
She's been there for 3 years.
2 and a bit, or whatever. However long it's been. Over 2 years.
Yep.
She's an adult woman.
Yep.
I was thinking about this because maybe this comes more from people in our generation being more accustomed to, like, flat sharing than people wouldn't have been. I mean, I know that, like, our parents moved away to university and would have, like, had plenty of flatmates over the time, and there's probably lots of people who would have for the past, 100 years. But I kind of get the feeling that Frasier's never really lived with people. It's either been living at home when he was a child or as a teenager, then moved away, probably lived by himself throughout university, would have been with Lilith and or Frederick.
Certainly gives that impression.
And then now he's with his dad and Daphne.
Yeah.
And kind of has that, it's more like they're flatmates than family sometimes. Obviously they are family, but it's like it's not like living with his partner. It's more of a communal kind of situation.
Certainly in some of the grievances that they have with each other.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah,
and I think maybe it's because I am more used to that, or because people in our generation are more used to that, that I think, like, it would, I mean, if I said to any of my flatmates at any point, any of my flatmates that I have had over the years, at any point, I don't feel comfortable with you having sex with your partner while I'm in the flat, they'd think I was nuts. Because that's a totally unreasonable thing to think.
It is. Yeah.
As long as they're not being disruptive.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a limit. There's definitely a limit, if it was, 24/7.
Yeah.
Different random people coming into your flat every single day, or night, I suppose, and it was particularly loud and disruptive and whatever, you'd maybe say something and be like, hey, come on, come on. But in this case, Daphne's room is the complete opposite wing of the flat.
Yeah.
So presumably, and by the fact that Frasier hasn't said anything before, presumably they've not noticed. So it's not like she's being actively disruptive or loud or anything like that. It's her own room, which, as we established last season in Daphne's room, that's her home.
Yeah.
Her home is within that room. That's her personal space. So to have him come around and say, no, you're not allowed to do whatever you like, you have to abide by my rules, is yeah, totally unreasonable.
Yeah.
Verging on, like, cruel.
Oh, of course.
And they do have a bit of a, it's not even an argument, but like a discussion about how it's going to go. And he does come right out and say, I don't want you moving out. I don't want you finding a new place. I want you to stay here. I just don't want you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Which is just so tone deaf.
It's wild.
Yeah. I don't know how on earth, I mean, I don't know how many times I can say that, for one thing. How many times Frasier can think he's in the right when he's very clearly not.
Yeah.
But we quickly realise after Daphne goes away for the week or the weekend.
Goes away for a weekend.
And Frasier and Martin are left to fend for themselves, that they need her there.
Yeah.
Because they will kill each other. And Frasier says as much, that they will straight up kill each other if she's not around. Which on the one hand is a bit unfair to put that on her.
Yeah.
Because they're both adults. They should be able to live together. But at the same time, I think it's nice and it shows how important she is to everyone.
Yeah.
Not just like within the story, but to us as viewers. It's nice to show a bit of appreciation for Daphne and how important she is, and what she brings to the household and to the family, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, it's really nice. And that's kind of it. They resolve it by Daphne coming up with some lie about Joe getting kicked by a sheep.
Yeah.
In the Falklands.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of denial in this episode. There's a lot. It really does kind of center around it, because there's this whole there's a recurring joke where Martin keeps complaining about the dryer shrinking his clothes.
Yeah.
Because he's refusing to admit that he has put on weight.
I've been there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man, the past couple of years have not been kind to any of us, I don't think. But yeah, he's insisting that it's the dryer shrinking his clothes in spite of the fact that he's eating a lot, and he's
and the scales as well. The scales have been off for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the scales been off by 10 pounds for the past couple of weeks. Whatever. And Niles, we do have a bit of a B plot with him. He's realizing that he's not been invited out to these high society functions as he was when he was still with Maris.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to figure out why, and in the end he kind of settles into this nice little comfy cushion of denial of like, oh, it's the reason they didn't invite me is because my invitation got eaten by the chairman's dog, or maybe the mailman stole it, or maybe they didn't want to invite me because Maris wouldn't be comfortable with me being there. Yeah. And he's, kind of not wanting to admit that his friends aren't very nice people and they just don't want him there.
Yeah.
So it all kind of culminates at the end with the three of them just sitting around and talking about their own little denial bits, their own little worlds that they're in.
Yeah. This little bubble of denial.
Excuse me. Yeah.
But no, it's yeah, I never thought of it like that, actually. All of their conclusions do kind of weave into each other.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And it particularly the Frasier and Martin stuff when they're living alone is very funny.
Yeah.
They're just at each other's throats. There's a sponge being left out, gathering bacteria, and electricity getting spent with the lights left on all the time. And it's just very funny, the two of them going at each other. But there's also, quite a lot of heart to it with the Daphne side of things, and showing their appreciation for her. So, pretty strong episode. Pretty strong episode, and certainly better than a couple that we've had in the season.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's why I gave it a 3.
You gave it a 3?
I gave it a 3.
Fair enough. I agree with you there. I was going to give it a 2.
Okay.
And then there's one bit that I just couldn't not bump it up. I couldn't not give it an extra cup because it's so funny.
Okay.
And it's when Niles comes to the door having he was turned away at this charity function he was going to, the hoedown for the homeless, and he just shows up out of the blue at Frasier's apartment wearing a cowboy hat and a bolo tie. And when Frasier... there's a solid 30 seconds where there's no dialogue because everyone's laughing so hard. Yeah. Frasier just opens the door and it's Niles standing there dressed as a cowboy.
Yep.
Doesn't even need to say anything. It's hilarious. And yeah, that earns it another cup for me.
Justifiable. Justifiable so. Yeah, absolutely. We've not had as many Niles entrances. This disc. We've had that one, the hoedown, and earlier on we had... There is another one. Which one is it?
There's a good one in Frasier Grinch. When he opens the door and he comes in when all the Christmas decorations are up, and he he is stunned into silence, and then Frasier goes to say something and Niles says, no, I don't know, shut up, you'll hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
Which was what their mum had always said when Martin was doing the decoration when they were kids.
Yeah.
That's quite... I don't know if that was the one you're thinking of, but that's quite a funny one.
Yeah, it is good. But I mean, compared to the first disc where we had Niles coming in with the gun and everything, these ones are kind of small potatoes, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it's good. You know what? It's good. It's a good episode. Good round off of the disc, and we're going into the next disc with some very strong episodes.
There are some great episodes in the next one.
So looking forward to that. But yeah, there we go. Disc 2, season 3. Disc 2. I need to keep like a post-it or something on your forehead.
Yes.
So that I can remind myself exactly where we are, because I keep almost forgetting. Up and down disc, as I said in the start.
Yeah.
We kind of went over the summary at the start, but it's overall, if we're going by averages, it's still pretty decent.
Yep.
It's definitely up and down. It's not just down, which is good.
Yeah.
Any highlights? Any particular
highlights?
Moments of hilarity or significance?
I really enjoy in The Adventures of Bad Boy and Dirty Girl. When right at the beginning, I mean, I did mention the line that I think is really funny with Niles saying,
"You had sex with her, didn't
you?" Is really good. But then when they start talking about it, and Frasier says like, "Oh, it was in her office," and then he says, "What, you're saying her couch folds out?" He says, "No, we used her desk. Her desk folds out."
The innocence.
Yeah, it's Niles, just that. I do love the occasional jokes about Niles being a bit... I don't know if you'd say he's naive, but just a bit inexperienced when it comes to sex.
Yeah, inexperienced, yeah.
Because I don't know, if he didn't really get around very much before Maris.
No.
And definitely he and Maris did not have a very good sex life either. So there's a lot of jokes about him being quite inexperienced. And it's very funny.
Good. Yeah, it's very good.
What about you? Good highlights?
I would probably, if I'm going to give a highlight of this disc, I think it probably has to go to just the last time I saw Maris, and just the episode as a whole, and just how well it does to establish a significant point in time where everything changes. At least in my head, that's how I always treat it. I always treat this disc, this episode, as like the big pivot towards a more plot-centered Frasier.
Yeah.
And I think it does well to do that. So that's not quite a highlight, more of a notable milestone, I suppose. But that's what I'm going with. I'm going to roll with that for now.
Yeah.
And there we go. It's getting more and more difficult to think of new ways to praise this show.
It is, yeah.
This episode's very funny. This episode's very heartfelt. Try to think of new ways, new angles to critique these episodes.
Yeah.
As I'm watching them. But I think we're getting into the groove of it. Definitely getting our way through. We've got some good episodes coming up as well that we can definitely sit back and praise.
Yeah, there are some great ones towards the end of season 3.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome. Were you talking to me or were you talking to the audience?
Let's say both.
Okay.
Let's say both. Yeah, this has been an episode. Certainly has.
It has.
Certainly has.
It's been one of the episodes.
It has been.
Of the show.
One of the episodes of the show.
It has.
It has. Thank you. And I hope you will tune in again next week.
For another episode.
For another episode. Not this episode, but another episode. The next episode. Thanks for listening. Have a great day and good mental health. This has been a Happy Brothers podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HappyBrosPod.
All opinions are our own, and as always, special thanks to Leah O'Donnell for the show's artwork.